1 second here, gentlemen. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties. We got Teacher Bill with us tonight. Shout out to Teacher Bill. All right, Chad, give me 1 second here. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is William. I'm your certified unk tonight. The phone lines are open. Apologize for a little bit of sloppy opening here, nephew. Go ahead and call up. All right, Johnny, go ahead and introduce yourself for everybody watching tonight. Hold on, nephew. Hold on, gentlemen. We got a little bit of a feedback still. Are we good?
Yeah.
You guys hear that? Is it just me?
I heard a little bit of it, but I didn't hear it as loud as you might have. I'm hearing it now.
All right, is it when I talk?
No, I think it's when I do. I'm not hearing it now, though.
All right, Johnny, go ahead and introduce yourself for everybody tonight.
I don't hear nothing.
Right. So I'm JohnnyDumbbell. I am your personal trainer and no BS life coach out here in beautiful Pittsburgh, PA. So I'm here not to tell you quite so much about fitness or even about my successes when it comes to relationships, women, or anything like that. No. See, I'm reading a little bit of your questions to me tonight because I have failed at so many aspects of the dating relationship thing. And I've seen highly intelligent people with doctorates, make the same mistakes over and over. And the common denominator is youth and inexperience. So if you are thinking of doing something and it might cost you a lot of money or a lot of dignity, if you think that it might be something that could work in a movie, but you're doubting whether it would work in real life, it probably won't. I guess what I'm trying to say is take the moral of the story from the lessons we learned from all the stupid stories that everybody in the family has about us that we're not exactly proud of. And mind you, we are proud of the men that we became as a result of the consequences of those stories. In short, we screwed up, so you don't have to. Now listen up.
Well said, Johnny. All right, Bill, go ahead and introduce yourself for our audience tonight.
How you doing? I'm Teacher Bill. I'm a longtime friend with William. I've known him for many years. I'm just here as a guest. I do positivity-based videos and stuff on TikTok and other platforms. So I'm just here to, I guess, share life advice based off of different things you guys are going through. A lot of us have been through everything. I'm older, so I've been through a number of things. My background is in psychology. I'm a teacher. So just, I'm here to answer questions where we can and give advice when possible and just
all right. Appreciate
nice.
it. All right, gentlemen. I'll tell you what, let's jump right into it. Let's get to work tonight, Johnny. Let's start with the first question.
All right. So speaking of people having difficulties, we're going to start with this guy, Elly. Elly said, dude, I caught my girl at her ex's house last night. She was there. Oh, man, dude. I'm still hearing a little echo. She was there for 3 hours, and I was parked outside. When I called her, she said she was with her girlfriend driving and couldn't talk. Meanwhile, I saw her getting into her ex's car when he drove her back home. Guess what that means he did, Uncle Bill? So she was there for 3 hours, as I said, and he says, I was parked outside. He admits it. I was parked outside. When I called her, she said she was with her girlfriend driving and couldn't talk. Meanwhile, I skipped that part. Sorry. So I drove to her place and got there and confronted them. So, I mean, it wasn't bad enough that he stalked the poor girl. Now he's going to show that emotional side. Here it comes. And she said she only went there to, oh, it's okay, guys. She only went there to talk, and he wanted to show her his new home. Hey, cool, right? Yeah. She said that she loves me and doesn't want me to go anywhere and only went there to see his house. I want to believe her. I want to marry her. Is it possible that I'm overreacting? Guys, is it possible we can talk him out of buying that ring?
Did he take time to ask her about the house he just had to see? Or did he just blatantly assume the worst?
Well, I mean, see, that's what I was thinking. For one, there's got to be a reason why he felt the need to check and see if she was really where she said she was.
Well, exactly. And you
this has been going on longer than this.
Stop there. There's nothing else you need to know. You already caught her there. It doesn't matter how long she was there, 5 minutes or 3 hours. You either way, bro. There's a million fish in the sea. Don't sit there and worry about this one.
Well,
Not
yeah, and
calling women fish. I just, you know what I mean? From a sport,
well, yeah, and Teacher Bill, I
that
think the
bass kind
question
of way.
he's
That bass kind of way.
sure. Yeah, I feel like the question he's
What do
really
you say?
asking
Go ahead.
is,
I'm sorry.
I think the question he's really asking is, could I please be overreacting? Could I please be wrong about this? Could my ego
Yeah.
please not sustain the injury that it is
No.
currently enduring? Yeah, I mean, no,
What do you say?
no, it's not. Uncle Bill?
Nephews, anybody can have standards when life is easy. Anybody can say, I'll never tolerate disrespect. Anybody can say, I'd never stay with a liar. I'd never let somebody treat me like that. That's easy. The real test comes when the person crossing the line is somebody you love. Because that's when your emotions start negotiating with your standards. Now, tonight isn't about whether she cheated. Tonight is about something much bigger. Do standards stay where you put them, or do they move every time your emotions get involved? All right, here's
That's a well put way to say it.
Here's how I want every nephew watching to think about this. Whenever life punches you in the mouth, don't ask yourself, how do I feel? Ask yourself, what do my standards say? Because feelings change sometimes by the hour. Standards shouldn't. And that's why we call them standards. They're not suggestions. They're not preferences. They're standards. So look, let me share a little Conqueror's principle with you. Your standards don't exist to control other people. They exist to keep you from negotiating with yourself. Because it'll change more than your dating life. It'll change your friendships, your business, your finances, your health. I'm talking everything. All right, now let's slow this down, because pain speeds men up. You told us your girlfriend spent 3 hours at her ex's house. She told
She
you
was helping him match drapes to the carpet.
She told you she was somewhere else, nephew, and you watched that woman get into her car, and then went and confronted, and she gave you an explanation. So here's what everybody on the internet is going to argue about. Did she cheat? Was she telling the truth? Was she just looking at his new house? Wrong conversation. I don't care, because here's the real question. What standards did this violate for you? Because that's the only question that matters here tonight, nephew. If one of your standards is honesty and she told you she was with a friend, she wasn't. If one of your standards is transparency and you found out by following her, and we'll get to that in a minute, nephew, don't worry. If one of your standards is respecting the relationship that you've been building, then you have to ask yourself honestly, would you spend 3 hours at your ex's house without telling the woman you're planning on marrying?
Would it be okay?
If the answer is no, then why are you debating your own standard now? All right, so look, let me give him some real game. I think you're making the same mistake that millions of men make. You're asking, can I believe her? And I'm telling you, nephew, that's the wrong question. The better question is, would I advise my own nephew or my friend to accept this? Because here's what emotions do. They'll make us create exceptions for people that we're afraid to lose. That's emotional bargaining. And emotional bargaining, it sounds like this. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was really innocent. Maybe I'm being insecure. But let me teach you something I've learned in my lifetime. When you start saying maybe over and over, it's usually because the truth is standing right in front of you and you're trying to make it less painful. The truth is rarely confusing. Our attachment is. Teacher Bill, what do you think about that?
Same thing that a woman who's been in an abusive relationship does in her head, rationalize, well, maybe if I just do this, he'll stop being physically abusive, or maybe if I just say this more, or if I do this more, he'll stop being so mean, or it'll change. He really won't be like that again. And lies they try and do, or situational awareness, and see a reality that's not really there. And then you just, the truth is, like you said, is right in front of your face. It's right there, man. You already know what it is. Don't try and be like, oh, well, maybe not. No, no. You already know what it is. Just move on. It sucks and it's hard sometimes, but you know it's what you need to do, and you move on.
Yeah.
All right. I want every nephew listening to understand something. Your intuition isn't magic. It's something called pattern recognition. Your brain notices things long before your mouth is willing to admit them. That's why we say stuff like something feels off, or you don't always know why, but your mind has already started putting the puzzle together. Now, here's where men get into trouble. Instead of investigating to find the truth, they investigate to disprove the truth. And that's different. One man gathers information, the other man gathers excuses, nephew. Which one are you? Chat, I want honesty. Okay. Have you ever known something was wrong, but then spent weeks, months, maybe even years trying to convince yourself that it wasn't? And here's a harder question. Why? Are you afraid of being alone, afraid of starting over? I'd like to know. Let me know down in the chat, because that's where the real lesson is. Uncle Johnny, look, you've trained hundreds of people over the years. Have you ever seen somebody ignoring a problem they knew existed because facing it would hurt more than pretending everything was okay?
Yeah, I've run into that, and I've also run into people who are now facing that problem for the first time and have found out how big that problem is and can't face it alone. And luckily, our nephew Elly here made sure that he did just that and came to us tonight. So, hats off to him for that. But having said that, Elly, I got to tell you, man, when Uncle Bill's talking about intuition, I know you must be young. You didn't tell me your age, but I'm going to go ahead and assume you're young, because you had that anxiety. You clearly saw that red flag and you chased it rather than walked away from it. Okay. But that wasn't enough to convince you. You decided to call her to see if she'd either lie or at least give you an acceptable reason for being in his house for 3 hours, like waxing his floor or something. But that wasn't enough to convince you. No. See, then you created an emotional scene by confronting the two of them. You asked her to own up, and this would be a good idea, except for one problem. She's already lied to you before. What the hell you wanted to own up to? So I get that you want to believe her. But wanting to doesn't. When you say you want to, like we said, it means you don't. And I'm sure we all know what happened. We all know exactly what happened. They're playing Uno, and but the fact of the matter is, even if they weren't playing Uno, you still don't have trust in her, nor should you. This is where you part ways. And Uncle Bill, I believe we have a special line if he doesn't know quite what to say in the situation.
Hold on a second, Johnny. I'm sorry. I'm doing 5 things at once. I know you wanted me to land the plane and I dropped the ball.
We talk about pickup lines all the time. We don't do that, but we do have a good line for putting you down, putting you back. And it's blessings on your journey. Best wishes to you. And I hope you find what you're looking for. That's it.
That was well said.
All right, Teacher Bill, let me ask you this, sir. In education, you have to see students that make excuses all the time. So what's the difference between explaining behavior and excusing behavior? Because I think a lot of men get confused on these two.
It's situational, I guess, is the way to say it. I don't watch how I say it when it comes to students, but yeah, I guess it's just situational. You know what I mean?
All right, nephews, the truth is never the hardest part. The hardest part is accepting what the truth requires of you.
There you go.
Because once you know, you're responsible. You can no longer hide hope. You can no longer hide behind excuses. You can no longer pretend you didn't see it. And that's why so many men negotiate with themselves. Not because they don't know the truth, because they don't like the price of accepting it.
Yep.
So look, now, Johnny,
Well
I'm
said.
assigning him some homework tonight.
Yeah.
All right, look, and really, this should go for all the nephews. I want every man watching to write down 5 relationship standards. I'm talking not preferences, actual standards. And then ask yourself one question. If this happened to my own son, my own brother, my own nephew, would I tell him to ignore it? And if that answer is no, ask yourself the hardest question of all. Why am I?
Yeah.
Because your standards mean absolutely nothing if they only exist for other people.
Precisely.
Now, nephews, before the chat lights me up and says, Unc, you're telling everybody to leave, let me stop you right there. That's not what I'm teaching. What I'm teaching is something bigger. I'm teaching don't move the line. Whether you stay or whether you go, that's your decision. But whatever decision you make sure it's based on your standards, not your fear. Because fear builds weak men. And standards, they build strong ones.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing of it is, when you build those standards you can stick to, I promise you, you'll know you can stick to them when you say to yourself, I don't know what kind of kitty cat it would take to draw me away from these standards, but it probably doesn't exist.
Hey, Johnny, sometimes you throw me off when you're in the chat, too.
Yeah, that's my bad. Sorry. Now, I wanted to say hey to Major Blaze. Thanks for stopping by. I know you're watching us and keeping an eye on the U.S. World Cup soccer game where our defense has been absolute cheeks tonight. So I appreciate you coming and joining us for that, man. Love you, dude.
All right, nephews, call up. The phone lines are open. Let me put that number up one more time.
By the way, guys, if you have an experience with if you've been the cheater or the cheaty, or if you this story even kind of hits home, something that might have happened to you or somebody you know, leave it in the chat. Tell us about it. Also, a nice like and subscribe goes a long way for all of us, so appreciate that.
Hey, what's this food?
What's up?
I'm sorry, what's that, sir?
What do they just type in to find it?
Type what into what?
I got the number scrolling across the chat.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
All right, so moving on.
Question, sir.
Yeah, we got question 2. This is Craig. Craig said, my friend with benefits cut me off, but it was kind of too little too late. He says, basically, I dated a woman for a very short time, 3 dates. Means they hooked up 3 times is what he's saying. And I found out that she also had another friend with benefits while dating me. I wasn't upset, as I get that some people do this, but that kind of made me uninterested. I don't date people who are having or looking for casual sex, as I was looking to further our situation from there. Something she said she wanted to at the time. I told her this. She took it well, but a few days later, she texted me and told me that she broke things off with her other friend with benefits and asked if we could try again. I told her I appreciate it, but I still wasn't interested. While I didn't tell her this, it was kind of a deal breaker to date somebody who was sleeping with me and one other person at the same time, unbeknownst to me. Well, she chewed me the F out. Like, damn, I got 10 texts from her right before I had to block her. All I did was stand up for all I did was stick to my standards. Is this going to be the normal reaction? Craig, I'm going to tell you right now, you will know that you have done the right thing and known you've set the right standards and stuck to them like a stickler for your own rules, as you should be, when you start getting venom from the people that were trying to take advantage of you in some way, shape, or form. Am I right, Uncle Bear? Am I right, Teacher Bill?
I agree. Yeah. You did the right thing there, bud. You stuck to your guns. And how are you going to be able to know she's still double dipping with other dude? So you absolutely did the right thing there, man.
I think, nephew, look, your standards, they're only real if they survive temptation. Everybody says they have standards. I'm talking every single one of us. Until the person they wanted suddenly makes them change their mind. And that's when we find out if those standards were real or if they were just conditions until somebody attractive gave you another opportunity. This isn't a dating lesson. This is a life lesson, because the easiest person to negotiate with is yourself. Okay.
Yeah,
look,
I mean,
John, give me just 1 second here. Now,
go
there
ahead,
are
man.
3 types of decisions. I want to teach you this real quick. 3 types of decisions. You have an emotional decision, and you make this because of how you feel today. All right, you have a logical decision, and this is something you make because it makes sense to you. And then you have something called a principled decision, and you make them because they align with who you've decided to become. Now, the first 2, they change constantly. The third one builds your character. The conqueror doesn't try to make emotional decisions look logical. He asks one question: does this align with my standard? If the answer is no, then the conversation is already over. Now, Craig, I think you handled this better than you realize. Let me slow this down.
Absolutely.
And let's talk about this. You went on 3 dates. You found out she had a friend with benefits arrangements while she was dating you. Now,
whatever.
But before the internet lights me up on this one, let's separate preference from judgment, shall we? Yeah. She has every right to make her choices, and you have every right to make yours. That's adulthood. Your standard wasn't she's a bad person. Your standard was, I'm looking for somebody who already lives the kind of lifestyle I'm trying to build with. Those are 2 different statements. You didn't shame her. You didn't insult her. You didn't try to change her. You simply said we're looking for different things. And that's one of the healthiest relationship decisions a man can make, man. Shout out to you, bro.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah. And that's just it. I see that when people have standards, it's usually once they started to like themselves and once they started to kind of gain some momentum in whether it's their career, their schooling, or both. And it really sounds like this is something he's probably been working on. He's probably either been working on himself for a long time, or he just always had standards. And most of us didn't always have standards from the very beginning. So I'm going to go ahead and applaud you that you probably had to work hard to get to where you are to be able to say, hey, you're hot. I love the bedroom fun that we've been having, but I'm going to walk away because you're not meeting a standard that has nothing really, essentially has very little to do with the actual activity and more to do with the mentality. Yeah. All right. Teacher Bill, final thoughts on this one?
Teacher Bill, what are your thoughts here?
You went with your gut. Can't agree more with your decision. I would have done the exact same thing if I was in your position. I just think, way to go, man. And it's good that you reached out and asked for more advice just so you could be sure. That's perfectly fine. It doesn't make you less of a person for reaching out. Just makes you a smart one, just to make sure you're crossing all your T's, dotting all your I's. So you did a good job, man, all the way around.
Yeah, every teacher's ever told me, make sure you check your work, and it sounds like that's what you're doing. I love it.
All right, nephews, here's where most men would have folded. Let's say she calls you a few days later, says she ended that friends with benefit situation. She asked for another chance, and immediately your brain starts negotiating with itself. Well, she changed. Maybe I should give it another shot. No, I want you to ask yourself, did your standard change or did the circumstances? Because those are very different. If your standard was, I want somebody who's already living this lifestyle, then nothing's changed. She didn't become a different person in 3 days. She made a different decision, and that's okay. But you don't owe somebody access to your future because they changed after they realized they might lose it.
Yeah.
And here's some real game on this, nephews, and I want you to hear this. This is one of the biggest mistakes men make, is confusing changed behavior with changed character. Behavior, yeah, that can't change overnight. Character reveals itself over time. And that's why I don't make big decisions based on emotional moments. I watch patterns. Anybody can apologize. Anybody can promise. Anybody can cough up some tears and cry and swear that they've changed. Time is the only thing that proves it. And here's the catch. You're not obligated to stick around long enough to find out.
Nope.
That's the real game. Because somewhere along the way, men started believing they owe everyone a second chance. No, nephews, second chances are gifts, not obligations.
Boy, it is funny how people treat it like that, isn't it?
And I want all you nephews to understand something. There's a big difference between forgiveness and access. You can forgive somebody without giving them another opportunity. And that's true in business. That can work with your family, friendships, and with dating. Forgiveness is about letting go of resentment. Access is about protecting your future, and those are completely different decisions. And I think a lot of men confuse the two. They think if I forgive her, I have to let her back in. No, you can wish somebody the absolute best and still decide they're no longer the right person to build your future with. And that's not bitterness, that's wisdom. Like Johnny said earlier, blessings on your journey. And chat, tell me this and be honest with them here. How many of you ever broken one of your own standards because somebody came back and gave you a little bit of attention, some breadcrumbs? Let me know in the chat.
Great at that.
And how did that work out? Because I think a lot of us have learned that lesson the hard way.
And we do mean us.
Now, Teacher Bill, in the classroom, your students, I'm sure they always promise that they're going to do better after, like, they fail a test. All right, is saying you'll change the same thing as demonstrating you've changed? Can you tell our audience how do you tell the difference?
That old ass saying that everybody knows, man, is actions speak louder than words. Show me it. Let me see you actually physically do it. It's those ones that you know are going to actually make a difference. You know what I mean? The one you can say whatever you want to say. I don't know if you're telling me what I want to hear or what, but your actions actually show me your sincerity. So it's actions speak louder than words in that situation.
And Johnny,
absolutely.
Look, you coached people for years, and shout out to JohnnyDumbbell. He was one of my very first mentors. Have you ever watched somebody finally start taking care of themselves, but only after they got dumped? So what's the difference between genuine growth and panic because they lost something? Will you break that down for everybody watching for us tonight?
You talking to me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's about self-care all the time. Because one of the things that people run into, and I mean, look, I ran into this after, look, I was engaged twice, married once. Both of those relationships obviously didn't fall through. And so the funny thing is, I waited until after those were over to start to try to recover. That meant that here I was, not only a fat slob who was out of shape, but a sad fat slob who was out of shape, was going to now have to fight not only his history of laziness, but his depression and anxiety over the end of his relationship. And by the way, another mistake that I made during those times was being closer to the woman that I was with and not really having my boys to hang out with every once in a while, not having my guys to talk to every once in a while. So I had to like reestablish a few friendships after the whole thing, blew up in my face. Now, Uncle Bill can tell you shortly after my divorce that was the time that I finally decided, well, now that I've hit the floor, I guess the only place to go is up. Guys, you don't have to wait till it gets to that point. Any bill collector, any teacher who's trying to help you pass their class is going to say, you got this much time, you got this much work to do. You can't wait too long until it's unsalvageable. Am I right, Teacher Bill? So, when you run into those kinds of things and, you decide it's time to start self-care once you're already in shambles, you've got an uphill battle. Luckily for you, that's what your uncles are here to help you do. because that way you don't have to climb up the north face of El Capitan to figure out how to get things going. You've got us to guide your way. But in the meantime, in between time, take care of yourselves every single day. I don't care whether you're happy, sad, in a good mood, in a bad mood. Get to that gym 3-4 times a week. If you're not good, if today's not a gym day, jump on a bike, go for a walk, and don't tell me you can't afford a bike. I just bought a vintage 70s 10-speed for $35 the other day, and all it needed was air in the tires. Give me a break. I'll help you find a place to buy one. The point is, you should be establishing a routine and a method and a process for how you are going to keep yourself healthy and happy, because when you're healthy and happy, the people around you that mean the most to you will be as well, whether it's intentional or not.
Here's something I wish every young man learned. I'm going to break it down for you. The hardest person you'll ever have to say no to is the person you've already imagined a future with. And because that's when your emotions start negotiating with your principles. Don't move the line. You decided what kind of life you wanted before they show up. Don't change it because you're afraid they'll leave. A standard that disappears when you're lonely, it was never a standard, nephews. It was a preference. All right. So what I'd like you guys to do is write down some standards that you refuse to negotiate with in a relationship. Not a wish list. We're not talking preferences. I'm talking your actual standards, nephew. And then ask yourself, go ahead, John.
I would say start with things that you remember from past relationships that make you angry, upset, or anxious that, she may do, because those should be deal breakers right there. I don't care what they are. If it's because you don't appreciate women who do the girls' night out thing, you're allowed to have that as your preference. I would just recommend that you set that boundary at the beginning. If you don't like that she wears freaking pink underwear on Thursdays, it sounds stupid, but if it's your standard, it's your standard, and you better not deviate from it if that's truly a deal breaker for you. But the most important thing that you need to remember is you are allowed to have deal breakers, and she and a lot of other people are going to come out of the woodwork and tell you that you're wrong. They're going to tell you that you're controlling. They're going to tell you that you're insecure. Let me tell you about setting boundaries that are going to make people call you insecure. I've got a Ring doorbell cam. I've got surveillance cameras in my apartment. I've got an alarm. I've got a security system. So does that mean that when I leave this place, I don't lock the door? No, I have standards for the way I leave this place, because I know that if somebody wants in badly enough, or they want to commit a crime against you badly enough, they're going to do it. Same as violating your boundaries. If somebody doesn't respect you, they are not going to care about your boundaries. And that is when you are going to have to not only tell them you're walking, but actually get to walking. That's what being a man is, guys. This is masculinity. This is standing on business. And really, I guess it doesn't even have to be about being a man, but that's who we're talking to tonight. This is about doing what you say, saying what you do, planning your work and working your plan. I know I don't like the sayings, the turns of phrase either, but these ones mean it. These ones are meaningful. Nobody else is going to live your life. Nobody else is going to pay your bills. Nobody else is going to lock your door when you leave for work. So understand that nobody else is going to live with your decisions. So why let them influence them?
Nephews, you don't protect your future by finding the perfect person. You protect your future by refusing to negotiate the standards that define the life you're trying to build. That's how men lead. That's how families are built. That's how a conqueror keeps the line exactly where he drew it.
Yep.
Teacher Bill, you got anything you want to add before we move on to the next question?
No, this is going great, man. Love it. Really glad that I came along, and happy to be joining a part and helping these dudes out, man. It's awesome.
Dude, we're glad to have you, man. This is great. This is we're kind of hoping to have you on for quite some time. We've been excited about this. I appreciate having you with us.
All right on, Johnny. Thanks, buddy.
Absolutely.
All right, nephews, phone lines are open. Call up with your own questions. I'll run the ticker across the screen for you again. Johnny, let's bring out our last question for tonight.
All right, so this is I'm hearing a little bit of an echo. I don't know whose it is. Whoever has speakers, I think it might be. Anyway, so we got Tyler here, and I'm going to go ahead and say Tyler's a little bit young. Tyler says, is it worth dating someone on the social media as compared to the real life? Tyler. I'm not that mad at you because you came to us, but we're going to have a serious discussion about social media here in just a minute. Do you think that dating someone you met through social media is worth it compared to meeting someone in real life in person? I've noticed it's becoming more common to meet people through Instagram, Reddit, Discord, not Discord, X, or other platforms. Some relationships seem to work out really well, while others never make it past texting. Sometimes it feels easier to connect online because you can talk for hours without the pressure of meeting face to face. We're going to talk about that pressure in a minute, too. At the same time, online relationships can come with a lot of uncertainty, ghosting, mixed signals, long distance, building an idea of someone before actually knowing them. Blue balls. I'm kidding. So I'm curious. He didn't put that. So I'm curious. Do you think that meeting someone online gives you the same chance of building a healthy relationship as meeting someone in real life? Or do you think the real life connections still have an advantage? I would love to hear all three of your experiences, whether they are good or bad. Now, see, you're talking to 3 Gen Xers, right? Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So you are never going to have one Gen Xer, at least not in this group, tell you that having a girl over at your place, sitting on the couch, doing the whole Netflix and chill thing is not better than, maybe doing a video chat over Instagram. Teacher Bill, is there really any substitute for meeting the old fashioned way? And I think what he's asking is introducing yourself and approaching.
Okay, so here's, if you are just doing texting, you're not meeting the real person, you're not meeting that actual person, and at some point in time, multiple times, you're going to emphasize different words differently than that person was talking or emphasizing them when they typed it out.
Yeah.
So, and you regularly video chat, that is actually much different because you do still have to make eye contact. You do still have to be more of yourself, and you can't try to pretend you're somebody you're not. But nothing is going to beat the straight up, to the point, old fashioned, face to face. Let's meet, talk, and get to know each other one on one, and not over the internet, not over the phone, not over the computer, just face to face, physically seeing one another. So I mean, that's
Absolutely.
just, I mean, things, if it was just texting, you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in person, there's just a level of, there's just a confidence that you just can't put across, no matter how good or how articulate you are texting. Absolutely, Teacher Bill. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, there's just nothing like it. Uncle Bill. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Keep going. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, and you guys know what I'm talking about. This, when you're with the right person, there is an energy that is there, an unspoken energy that is there between the two of you that you will feel, and it's not something that's happening over the internet or over electronic. It's a physical thing between you, and then when it's just meant to be, it's just meant to be, and you will physically feel that without saying it.
And more importantly, without texting for 3 weeks to find out she's just not into you.
Now,
Boom.
nephew, where you meet somebody is far less important than how you evaluate them. One of the biggest lies men believe is this: if I could just meet women somewhere else, my dating problems would just disappear. If I stopped using dating apps, if I met somebody at church, if I met somebody through friends. Well, here's the truth. People don't come with labels. A good woman can be on Instagram. A dishonest woman can be in church. A loyal woman can be on Bumble. And a disloyal woman can live right around the corner. The location didn't build the character. The person did. So stop looking for the perfect place and start becoming the perfect evaluator. That's a skill, and skills can be learned. And I want to teach you something that has served me well in every area of my life. Never evaluate people by where you found them. Evaluate them by what they repeatedly do. That's how businesses hire. That's how leaders build teams. That's how good fathers choose who they allow around their families. And it's how men should approach relationships. All right. Don't ask, where did I meet her? Ask, what evidence has she given me? Because evidence beats assumptions every single time. Tyler, you asked if online dating is worth it. I think you're asking the wrong question. Not because it's a bad question, because it's too small. Online is a tool, just like a hammer. A hammer can't build a house. The tool isn't the problem. The person using it is. I've seen marriages that have started online. I've seen marriages that have started in high school fall apart. I've seen people meet at church and betray each other. I've seen people on social media build beautiful families together. So if you're waiting for the perfect place to meet somebody, you're solving the wrong problem. I don't care where you meet her. I care how she shows up. Does she keep her word? Does she communicate with you honestly? Does her actions match her words? Can this woman take accountability? Can she apologize? Can she handle conflict without disappearing? Does she make your life more peaceful or more confusing? Those are the questions that matter, not whether her profile popped up on Instagram, or whether you bumped into her at a grocery store. Because if your evaluation process is weak, it doesn't matter where you meet people. You're going to keep choosing the wrong one. And I want all you nephews to hear this. Most men spend years trying to improve their chances of meeting a good woman. Very few spend the time improving their ability how to recognize one. Those are two different skills. I like to imagine, nephews, a hiring manager. Because, look, he doesn't build a successful company because he gets more applicants. He builds a successful company because he learns how to identify the right people. And nephew, dating is no different. Your success is not really determined by how many women you meet. It's determined by how well you evaluate character. And that's why this episode is called Don't Move the Line, because your standards are the filter. If you remove the filter, then everything gets through. Look, I think this becomes a reoccurring framework on this show. Like, whenever you're evaluating somebody, I want you to ask yourself 5 different questions. Okay. First question, can I trust their word? What do I mean by that? I mean, do their actions consistently match what they say? The second thing I like the question is, how do they handle conflict? Do they solve problems or do they create bigger ones? Now, Johnny, something I always ask myself is, can they take accountability, or is everything always someone else's fault?
Exactly.
And do they respect my boundaries? Not when it's easy, when it's inconvenient. And the fifth thing, nephews, do they bring peace to your life or chaos? A healthy relationship shouldn't require a detective to work. If you have to constantly investigate, you're probably ignoring something. And those 5 questions will tell you more than where you met them ever will.
Hey, by the way, we got a comment from Major Blaze.
Good, because chat, I want to hear from you. Where did you meet your spouse? Where did you meet your best friend? Where did you meet somebody who completely changed your life? And I also want to know, does this have anything to do with the kind of person they became, or was it their character? Let's talk about this for a minute. I want to talk about, where'd you meet your spouse, your best friend, or somebody who completely changed your life? Let me know.
Well, now Major Blaze does say that the woman he was talking about. Remember, he left a couple of comments in the live chat the last couple of weeks. He's been no contact 60 days, and she called him last week. What happened, man? If you're able to call us, we'd love to hear you.
Hold on a second, Johnny. I'll get his comment up. I'm just doing 5 things at once.
And also, I gotta agree. Yeah, every little bit.
Go ahead, Teacher Bill.
You still getting echo? Are you still getting echo? I have everything turned off.
Yeah.
There's no speakers on or anything in my house.
I'm
No.
not getting echo. No. There it is again. It's a delayed echo.
Bruh. Even the echoes got here late.
All right. Let's talk about this for a second, Major Blaze, because we appreciate you writing in.
Yeah, dude. We love seeing you, man. We love you in the live chat, dude. By the way, give us a like if you haven't already, though, man. You know, helps us out.
Right, so what happened after 60 days of no contact, Major Blaze?
My man, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to know what she said, and did she lead with something about her? Or did she lead with something about you? That's one of the things I want to know.
All right, Teacher Bill, I got a question for you. I'm sure you taught hundreds of students,
Yes,
and usually, you meet them all in the same classroom, but they all turn out to be different adults. Now, what does that teach us about evaluating people as individuals instead of judging them about where they came from?
So, absolute individual. They all have their different quirks, but yet a lot of times personality narcissists and stuff. And you have your other difference. You definitely learn what you can expect from that person based on somebody that's going to be a whiner, that they're going to complain a lot about narcissists. It's always going to be somebody else's fault why they didn't do it. And they're always trying their best. They're always doing their best. It's somebody else's fault. So you definitely learn that those different personalities play a.
All right, Johnny. Well, I'm sure you've met thousands of people through the gym over the years. And have you met some amazing people there?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Major Blaze says she called him after 60 days to tell him that she's dating somebody else. And I'll tell you this, I've definitely seen some interesting personalities, and a lot of them have to do with the ones that are seeking some sort of dopamine. And I think that's what this girl's looking for. She is at this point calling you after 60 days to tell you she's dating somebody else. Why? Because you haven't given in 2 months, and she needs to say something that's going to make you respond. Because you haven't been a good boy. You haven't been following. You haven't been responding to her. You haven't been texting her back, calling her back. Yeah, I mean, I think she's trying to either make you jealous or maybe flex that she's happy or something like that, because that's kind of a mode of projection. Because here's the thing. I'll bet you a buffalo nickel that she said it to you because she knows it would bother the absolute hell out of her if she found out you were dating somebody else. That's exactly what that. I mean, honestly, a lot of girls like this, they are very, very good projectors. They're practically professional projectors, or as I like to call it, pros. This girl is basically giving you what she feels it's her worst fear to hear about you. At least that's how it seems. Glad I could hit that on the head. Thanks, Major. But yeah, back to your question, Uncle Bill. Yeah, there's been a lot of interesting personalities I've run into over the years, and especially when it comes to the walks of life that I've encountered out here in Pittsburgh. It's there was some culture shock for me, especially when I started working at the more expensive gyms and, started getting to the point where, let's face it, as a personal trainer, I'm able to, earn a certain amount of money for the, training that I provide. And, it's interesting to me that no matter what the walk of life, because you think that people who have it together, they're wealthy, they're successful business people, they're either PhDs, MDs, nurse practitioners, things like that. So you think this highly educated, highly successful person couldn't possibly have problems they couldn't make it through in life. You know, they mastered school, they mastered, art, they mastered science, they mastered all the things that are, that are not only intellectually involved, but things that require work and things that might not have been so good. So they understand, working for the things you're not good at, capitalizing on things you are good at, but somehow through all that good decision making, through all that wisdom and intelligence, no matter what walk of life people come from, I've noticed that most of us have a hard time navigating this thing we call dating, romance, relationships, and the pitfalls, the many, many pitfalls that are involved with those. The narrow path to success when it comes to these kinds of things, or at least it seems narrow. But here's the thing. That path can be as narrow and as wide as you want it to be when you are the one making the path. And as a trainer, that's what I try to tell these folks. If you're the pathfinder, it doesn't matter what path you don't have to follow a path to get to where you want to be. You don't have to audition for somebody's attention. And hear me when I say this. If you're dating somebody with trust issues like our first guy, I don't care which side of that you are, you do not owe that person reparations for what somebody did to them in a previous relationship. It's that simple. And this is exactly what I tell people. You are going to have to take the initiative. You are going to have to carve that path. I'll keep you in shape while you do it.
He says, Major Blaze wrote in again. He said, to reclaim power by telling you she has moved on, she tries to position herself as the winner of the breakup.
Yeah.
It's an attempt to make you feel rejected so she can feel desired and secured.
Uncle Bill, what's your win-loss record in breakups? Do you know?
No, I mean,
no, I don't either.
Every woman has ever lost me has fumbled the best thing that's ever happened. Let's not talk about me. Let's keep this about the next.
Yeah,
right?
well, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that she's trying to win this.
I want you to stop looking for the perfect place to meet the perfect person. There isn't one. Instead, become the kind of man who can recognize integrity. Okay? Protect his standards and walk away when those standards aren't met. Because where you meet somebody will never be as important as how you evaluate who they really are. Now,
Major Blaze, I'm a little bit proud that AI agreed with me.
This week, I don't want you downloading another dating app, nephew. And I don't want you deleting one either. I want you to write down 5 qualities that would make somebody trustworthy regardless of where you met them. And then ask yourself an even harder question. Do I consistently bring those same 5 qualities into other people's lives? Because the conqueror doesn't just look for good character. He builds it. And look, I'll leave you nephews with this. Don't outsource your standards to the environment. A better app, it's not going to save poor judgment. A better city, that's not going to change weak boundaries. And a different place just won't fix the wrong evaluation process. Your future isn't determined by where you meet people. It's determined by how well you evaluate them and whether you have the courage to keep the line exactly where you drew it. Hold the line, nephew.
Love isn't always on time. I had to. I knew a teacher build like that one.
All right, Johnny says here the real topic was you. Love that.
Yep.
All right, nephews. Look, before we get out of here tonight, I want to leave you with one final thought. Every man listening to this has a line. The question is, who gets to move it? Because life is going to test your standards. Sometimes it'll be through success. Sometimes it's going to be through failure. We often find it through loneliness. Sometimes it's through love. And sometimes the hardest person you'll ever have to stand up to is yourself. Because the voice in your head will always have another excuse. Maybe it'll be different. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe one more chance. And that's why we don't build our lives on feeling. We build them on principles. because feelings change. Principles don't. All right, tonight, it wasn't about women. It wasn't about dating apps. It wasn't about exes. It wasn't even about social media. Those were just the classrooms. The lesson was bigger. The lesson was this: don't move the line. Not because you're stubborn, not because you're trying to control somebody else, but because every time you move the line to make somebody else comfortable, you become less recognizable to yourself. And nephews, a man who can't trust his own standards eventually stops trusting his own decisions. And that's a dangerous place to live. So this week, don't worry about changing somebody else. Don't worry about fixing another person. Certainly don't worry about getting the last word. Ask yourself one question. Did I keep my word to myself today? Because that's where confidence comes from. That's where self-respect comes from. That's where leadership begins. That's how ordinary men become extraordinary. And I'll leave you with this week's Conqueror's principle. Your standards don't exist to control other people. They exist to keep you from negotiating with yourself. Don't move the line. And I want to thank Uncle Johnny for showing up every week and pouring into this community. Shout out to Uncle Johnny. And look, Teacher Bill tonight for joining us too. Thank you for sharing your perspective, sir, and helping us sharpen this conversations and just different experiences. They make these lessons stronger. And every one of you nephews that wrote in, that commented, that lurked in the chat, or simply spent part of your evening with us. Thank you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your trust. And I'm grateful that you've chosen to be part of a community that's committed to building better men, one lesson at a time. And we'll see you Thursday night. Until then, go keep your word, hold the line, go forth and conquer, and become the greatest man your bloodline has ever seen. Teacher Bill, you got anything to say before we wrap this up tonight?
Nah, man, thanks for having me. This was awesome. I really appreciate it. There's with the softening of America and stuff, and the softening of men, and the demonization of masculinity and stuff that went on for many, many years. It's great to have a platform like this to let dudes know it's okay to be a man. It's okay to do the right thing. It's okay to stand up for your morals. And to thank you guys for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here, man. It was great to have you with us. We like having that extra line of wisdom, and you definitely provided plenty of that.
Appreciate you, Teacher Bill. Johnny, you got anything to say before we wrap this up tonight?
You know, our three nephews tonight, they're growing up so fast at different rates, obviously. Regardless, all three of you are going to get a copy of the Johnny Dumbbell Challenge. It's in your inbox right now. Make sure you check them, whenever you see this. But, we dealt with a young man who was having a hard time accepting the reality of the bruising of his ego by what it seems like a girl who, to his face, loves him to death, and behind him wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire. The second young man that we had is almost there. He just had to check his work, and we're glad that he did so. And you'll find that we gave you at least a B+, but I'm going to say at least an A-. You stood on business, and you moved forward the way you needed to. And, our third young man, it sounds like he's just kind of launching his career here, so to speak. Not just when it comes to dating and relationships, because I don't want that I want that to be a perk, not a trophy. Okay. I want you all to continue to go to bed tomorrow night better than you were when you woke up tomorrow morning. I want you to continue to make your bed when you wake up in those mornings before you even leave the room. It's not hard to do. It takes you 10 seconds if you do it right. 15 if you're being fancy. I say this because when you can develop good habits, even when it comes to the little things, they can build the bigger things. Put easy and difficult things on your daily checklist. And I would like to see you do a checklist. If you want to do it JetX style with a pen and paper, or if you want to put it in your Samsung notes, I don't really care. But make sure that you're setting forth things you want to accomplish today. Everything from making your bed to finishing that dissertation you may or may not have. whatever you are, whatever stage in life you're in, there's always room for development. There's always room for improvement. And I don't remember, there was a company used to say, what you can measure, you can improve. Truer words were never spoken. Be that as it may, we're going to be seeing you in about 71 hours. So not quite 3 full days. For Swipe Smarter on on Uncle Bill's channel. We're going to be going through his dating profile. But between now and then, understand one thing. Uncle Bill and I are still starting out, and our funds are tied elsewhere, so we do not have bail money. So stay out of trouble. Keep the drugs and alcohol to a minimum. But if you do drink, don't drive. And if you do drive, don't park, because accidents cause people, and that can cost you. Good night.
Thanks for watching, everybody. God bless the real. Yeah.